Welcome to Programming from Scratch. Today we're going to talk about variables. So what is a variable? A variable is a named representation of some value. So for instance, 3.14 is pi, and so in your program you could have a variable named pi that was 3.14. You could also have the width and the length of a rectangle. And you could call them width, which is, say, equal to 3, height, length, which is equal to 4, and then you can use those accordingly in your program. How do we create a variable? Well, there's two parts of creating any variable in most languages. JavaScript is not different in this case. The first part is the declaration. A variable has to be declared before you can use it, before you can access its value. For instance, let's say that we wanted to use the variable a, right? Well, we can't. It says it's not defined. That's kind of a little lie that JavaScript is telling you. What it actually means is that it's not declared. So if I declare a, var, which is the keyword for declaring a variable, and short for variable, a, so now a is undefined, but it is declared, so we can access the value of a. The second part, if you haven't guessed already, is the definition of the value. So a has a value of 3. All right, so we just defined that a is equal to 3. And anywhere in my program that I want to, I can use a, and it will represent 3. Okay, let's clear this out. One way that we can use variables is we can declare them, so b, and define them all at the same time. So if I want to say that there's a variable named b and it's equal to 5, I can do that. Now, if I access b, I get 5. And I can do a plus b, which will give us 8, because 3 plus 5 is 8. The last way that we can create a variable, and I would suggest not doing this way, but I want you to be aware of it, because other people might do it and you need to recognize what's happened, is that we can just define a variable without declaring it, and that will also work. The problem with this is that if you were looking at someone else's program and they had done this, then you would start looking for where that variable was declared, and you wouldn't find it. And so this variable has just seemingly come out of thin air and is being used. And it's problematic for several reasons, which we will cover in later videos when we talk about more complicated pieces of JavaScript. For now, just know that that is something you could do, and that I would recommend not doing it. All right, so why would we use a variable? Why would we do that at all? Well, one reason would be kind of like what I said earlier, where you might have pi as 3.14, right? So now we have pi as 3.14. If we wanted to calculate the circumference of a circle, if I remember right, that's 2 pi times the radius, right? So 2 times pi times the radius. If that's not the circumference, I apologize. It's been a while since I covered that part in math, but I believe that that is correct. So if we had a radius, we don't have r, right? R doesn't exist. But if we had r, so let's say our radius is 2, right? We have a radius of 2. So now I can say 2 times pi times r, and I get 12.56, which I believe should be the circumference of a circle that has a 2 radius or a 4 diameter. So that's one reason why we might use a variable. Another reason why we might use a variable is if we were tracking a value through the course of our program. So if we had a result, right, and at the beginning of the program the result is equal to null, so it's equal to nothing, right? we might go through the program, and at the end, we want to display the result somewhere. And we'll get into how we can do that later. Well, one way is to do console.log result, and we get null. So it's somewhere in our program we might add something to the result. We might say the result equals 5. And then we might say the result equals the result plus 3, or 3, right? And then the result equals the result plus 8. And now we're at the end of our program, and we want to log the result again, so we get 16. So that's another reason to use variables. And the last reason is that it's the only way to accomplish certain things. And one example of that was where I was adding the result. I was setting the result equal to the result plus something. Another place where that's the case is, and we've already seen this because it was the only way that I could actually show you something earlier. If we had var d equals a new object and e equals a new object, and we wanted to see if e and d were the same, so d equal to e, false. Well, that doesn't work if I do object equal to object. It actually blows up. So there's at least a few places where you would need a variable because it's the only way to accomplish the task that you are trying to accomplish. And that is basically it for variables. We went kind of fast there, but there's not really that much to cover for your basic variables. There's the declaration, the definition, and then using a variable. And we covered all of that, so I hope you learned something. If you didn't, come back for later videos that will be more advanced. Please leave a like and a comment. Those are very much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.